The next piece is an interesting Talmud. It's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi says in the Talmud Tractate of Shabbos that you should know that Moses, God wanted to give the Torah one day earlier. And Moses added 1 day of abstinence on the basis of his own understanding. All of a sudden, the people were challenged with time. That what they thought was going to happen was withheld from them. So this Talmud opens us up to the time element. That all of a sudden, people expected the giving of the Torah at a certain time. And Moses turns around and says, hello? So all of a sudden Moses challenges the entire Jewish community. And God listens to Moses and says, go ahead. Restrain them for another day. See if they have the ability to respect time as well. And if they can restrain themselves for another day, and staying there another day waiting for what they think they deserved already, what they think they've earned already, and they have the ability to respect Moses' desire, another opinion that says another day not receiving what you want. Location of a mountain they can't touch, another day they can't receive. And God watched them have the ability to learn the discipline in time and space to allow for someone else, to allow for something outside of themselves to exist. And that was the test that God gave the Jewish people. Because on a natural level, if they would approach this like every other religion, they should have turned around and said, 1 second. In this great ecstasy of where I want to reach in my relationship with God and have this unbelievable spiritual experience, if it could happen on the bottom of the mountain, how much more and greater it would be on top of the mountain. Closer to God. From my personal experience to enhance my being in this world, it would have been of a greater reality to be on top of the mountain. It would have been of a greater reality if it happened sooner. That's a general perspective why religion came to the world. That religion came to the world to simply enhance the person's life, to better it. That sounds very much like the reason why you married somebody is simply, I need help. I need my life to be better. And thank God this person entered my life and completed my life by making my life a better life. Nowhere in that conversation is there a mention of the other person. Where in this conversation is there a mention of restraint and allowing the other person's existence to be? God turned around and said, the moment these people restrain their feeling from the mountain, the moment these people restrain their feeling to allow another day of Moses' perspective to take hold, they have just shown that their understanding is that the reason why Judaism is their way of thinking is because they're learning that it's not simply an enhancement of their life, but it's sharing their life with God and making space for God in this world through them. And in that way, we begin to understand in the beautiful language of the Talmud that, yes, God approached every religion. And the moment in the religion, there were elements that spoke about not enhancing their life. But to the contrary, from their perspective, it was cropping their life. It was restraining them. That's not the purpose why they wanted religion. Judaism came through the door, and when it walked through the door, what it spoke to was a different perspective. And no nation of the world wanted to hear that. And that perspective was that in this great relationship with God, it's going to be about restraint. Not only your enhancement, but also in allowing God's existence to take hold in creation and His desires to find a partner in this world. To find a partner in this world that will enhance God's desires. So I want to tell you, I have many congregants, and I have a beautiful temple and a beautiful congregation. And one of them came to me and said, Rabbi, I bought a book about bettering my marriage. And I'm reading it. And it says to me that when I come home, I have to make time at the table and clean the table afterwards. And I got to take out the garbage. And in the morning, I got to pick up my socks when I take off and put it in the dirty hamper. And I'm adhering to the book religiously. And my wife's still not happy. So I said, I want to talk to your wife. So his wife came into my office, and I said, you know, your husband's trying very hard to be a good husband. She says, that's the problem. He's reading a book of what makes him a good husband. I want to give him a book that says, what is your wife's needs? It's not in that book. So he's sitting there thinking, this is how I will be better. It's not about me. It's all about him. And he's taking out the garbage. I know he's taking out the garbage. But I know when he's taking out the garbage, it's him thinking, this is how I am a better person. He's never gotten away from thinking of himself. I need him to learn a little space in his life for me. Can he do that? So it's like the old joke. It's a great joke. I've told this joke many times, and some people that have been on my classes have heard this joke. This guy takes out a girl on a first date. Takes her to a restaurant. Sits down in the restaurant, and for the first 25-30 minutes doesn't stop speaking about himself. They serve the main course, and the next half an hour he keeps on just speaking about himself. Continuously. Finally, when they're serving dessert, the guy realizes, you know, it's an hour and a half into the date, and I haven't given this girl an opportunity to say a word. So he says, listen, Cindy, listen, I'm sorry that I hogged this date, and I spoke about myself for the past hour and a half. Cindy, now you can talk about me. It's the same story. It's just Cindy going to talk about him now. He never moved off himself. He's just going to allow Cindy to talk about him now. That's not called making space for someone else, when the whole purpose of that other person in your life was just that you were able to further yourself. And found somebody in your life that's going to now speak about you as well. Truly making space in a relationship, and truly a healthy relationship, is when you open up space in your life and allow for someone else's existence to be. And you respect it. And you truly, truly respect the other person's reality. And that's what Hillel said to the convert. Don't do unto the other what you don't want done unto yourself. Allow the other's presence to be. Just don't do it. Give him his space. And that's the greatest interpretation that Hillel could have said for that beautiful commandment, you shall love thy fellow person. Because if you left it in that natural context of you shall love that fellow person, you can make that mistake of loving that person to death. It's all about what you're doing. And you're not truly making space for the other person. And therefore Hillel beautifully retranslates it in the most beautiful psychological language, that making space for another person is the healthiest way of loving a person. And on that note, I want to tell you, as a Jew, we realize that God said, in addition to the commandments, which shows and it clearly identifies how we're enhancing our life through those commandments. And we see our personality grow through those commandments. And we understand how we become better people through those commandments. But there are many commandments that God has given us that at the core of those commandments we know it's not about how we become a better person. It's about how God wants to dwell in creation. And we have to leave it in that natural context, that that's God's desire of how He wants to dwell in creation. And in that beauty of God dwelling in creation, we then stand there and we're proud of that God has used us to find a dwelling place in this world. Just as we're proud in a relationship, that when we watch our better half shine and express themselves in their unique way, it's not making us any less. To the contrary, we stand there in a healthy relationship and we say, thank God I married such a beautiful person. Thank God I'm sharing my life with such a beautiful person, because look what that person is able to do, something that I can't do. But I'm proud to be a partner in life with that person, because that person has now given me the opportunity to experience and see the beauty of another idea, of a whole nother way of thinking, which I am not able to. But you have to make space for that to be a reality. Because if you don't make space, then it's all about you, and when it's all about you, you'll never appreciate what the other one brings to the table. And therefore, God turned around right before He gave the Torah and said, I'm going to challenge you with restraint and making space in time and physical reality of space. A mountain you can't touch, another day that you won't have what you think is there to enhance you. And you realize that there are things and beings and time that is bigger than you, and you have the opportunity to share it, because God giving you the opportunity to be married to Him, to share a relationship with Him. And in those time and space that God resides, we should just stand back and say, thank you for partnering in this world with me and giving me the opportunity to share your experience.